Oh, Nathan. Nathan. I think by now everyone knows you're not just an asshole. No, you're so much more than that. Sounds fun, let's play. For those who haven't seen or played Life is Strange and its sequel prequel, be aware there are some spoilers coming ahead. That being said, let's take a look at Nathan Prescott. Nathan Prescott is a teenager at Blackwell Academy, where he studies photography. He comes from the most well-known and rich family from Arcadia Bay, the city where the game takes place. But there is something off about him. There's a major shift between Nathan's personality in the prequel and the main game. In the prequel, he's more introverted, someone who gets pushed over, an outcast. While in the main game, he's outgoing, popular and confident. So, how did this major shift happen in just a couple of years? First, let's take a look at the main game, Nathan. Nathan is 18 years old, and very soon into the game, you already notice something off about him.
It's cool, Nathan. Don't stress. You're okay, bro. Just count to 3. Don't be scared. You own this school. If I wanted, I could blow it up. You're the boss.
Paranoia, talking to himself, destructive thoughts. Later in the game there are plenty of asshole moments to see this even more. However, when Max snoops around in Nathan's room in episode 4, you can find medication for schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, which shows that he at least is diagnosed with these disorders. But we're not going to go deeper into how this justifies his behavior, but we are going to look in what caused this. First we're going to take a better look at schizophrenia. The symptoms include hallucinations such as hearing voices, paranoid delusions and exaggerated or disordered perceptions, beliefs and behaviors. It is pretty obvious from that first clip you saw that he got at least some of these symptoms. But even though there are some symptoms, since there are more symptoms which I didn't mention now, I don't think there are enough to call him a schizophrenic. Now bipolar disorder. It's a disorder where the person who has it fluctuates between periods of mania, where some of the symptoms include increased physical and mental activity and energy, heightened mood, exaggerated optimism and self-confidence, increased sexual drive and reckless behavior. And even though some may argue that he has those, I doubt it. Sure, his behavior is reckless and he may have an increased sexual drive, but he's a teenage boy in senior year of high school, probably still nearing to the end of puberty. On the other hand, there are periods of depression, but again, at least the game doesn't show him having depression. Sure, he has a dark themed style looking at his dorm, but he seems lively enough, going to parties, hanging out with his friends, feeling confident. It doesn't sound like someone with depression. So also bipolar disorder doesn't seem to fit Nathan, but yet, he does take medication for it. So let's say he does have this disorder, but the medication is doing a good job in controlling it. Let's take a look at how this is caused, because when we look at the prequel, there are some interesting things going on. As we just discussed, Nathan seems to be a troubled teen with a lot of problems, mostly with himself. But he wasn't always the Nathan we know and love. He used to be shy, introverted and more friendly. According to an article about a boy named Jordan, when he turned 16, his mood suddenly changed a lot. He felt irritable, angry and extremely fatigued. Keep in mind that in time of the prequel, Nathan is only 14. And at the age of 18, Jordan was outgoing, president of the senior class, popular and a high achiever. Sounds just like Nathan in the main game. So he has a lot of similarities as Jordan. So I guess we can conclude that he has this disorder. But there's more to it. Because even though both disorders are partly genetic, the environment they live in also plays a huge factor. Even though Nathan probably has the construction to have bipolar disorder and schizophrenia, at the end of episode 3 where Max returns to another reality, Nathan seems calm and collective, and just a normal teen, hanging out with his friends. This shows that something around him has changed and the disorder didn't manifest. So what changed in the next few years to create Nathan in the main game? First, let's take a look at his family, and more importantly, his dad. In episode 2 of the prequel, You can hear the conversation between his dad and Nathan. Here you notice that Nathan Prescott, his dad, is afraid of being embarrassed by his son. According to him, Nathan shows weakness, and it isn't about him or his problem, but the Prescott name. His name. Besides this sounding like great parenting, there are plenty of other instances where Nathan Prescott is controlling Nathan. He really wants Nathan to step into his footsteps, saying in the mail, "I'll guide you into this room, step by step, as did my father." It was hard for me when my dad opened my eyes to our destiny, but you'll thank me someday. And if that wasn't bad enough, instead of ending with love, Dad, he ends with, "Don't fuck it up, son, your father." Furthermore, in the letter of Nathan's psychiatrist, he tells us Sean who refuses to acknowledge the role that he plays in his mental health, showing that Sean doesn't care about the well-being of his son. Parents who have difficulty separating their own needs from those of their children have a hard time taking children's perspective and acting in ways that are in children's best interest. Besides this, the bullying that his father does, Nathan slowly becomes more like him over the years to come, never having to take responsibility for his actions, since he can just pay up. Sean doesn't allow Nathan to solve his own problem, because it's likely to require more time and patience than solving a problem for them. Thus, Nathan never gets punished, because his father owns his hellhole. He never has to deal with the consequences of his actions or problems. He can go rogue without anyone being able to stop him, and that's what's happening. But Sean isn't the only one controlling him. Mark Jefferson, his teacher, does so too. Research reveals that when a teacher is more controlling their students, their intrinsic motivation and self-determination lowers a lot. This causes Nathan to not be happy with what he's doing, but he can't quit either because he's afraid to disappoint or embarrass his father, or in this case, the father figure. And Jefferson took advantage of that. He uses him for his own crimes, since he's obviously a psychopath. But this episode is not about him. At the end of the last episode, they even sent a message to Max, showing how this affected Nathan.
Max, it's Nathan. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I didn't want to hurt Kate or Rachel or I didn't want to hurt anybody.
Now I feel kinda sorry for him. But I can almost hear you say, he's nearly an adult now and should be able to make his own decisions. And that's where my last point in. Nathan is a sociopath. Also, this disorder is mostly caused by environmental factors, either because of childhood drama or abuse, either verbally or physically. And they don't really just talk about that.
You will not embarrass me.
Let's take a look at the symptoms. First of all, sociopaths tend to be nervous and easily agitated, which is very obvious throughout the game. He's a small temper, and especially in the first meeting, he seems nervous and paranoid. Second, they are volatile and prone to emotional outbursts, including fits of rage. As I said, he has a small temper and isn't scared to get physical when he gets angry. Third, it's difficult, but not impossible for sociopaths to form attachments with others. This one is really clear in both games. In the prequel, Samantha really tries to be there for Nathan, but he dismisses her and distances himself from her. Also, he tells Nathan Prescott that everyone hates him. In the main game, no one is really attached to him, except for Victoria, with whom he gets along very well. Even though, coming to the fourth point, sociopaths appear to be very disturbed, because even Victoria says that Nathan creeps her out. And besides that, did anyone think at first sight that Nathan wasn't disturbed? At last, but not least, any crimes committed by a sociopath, including murder, would tend to be haphazard, disorganized, and spontaneous rather than planned. When Nathan shoots Chloe, it's pretty obvious that it wasn't his intention, nor a plan, more like an accident. But it doesn't, to me at least, seem like a sociopathic tendency, but more as a scare gone wrong. Which I obviously don't approve, but there's more. Even though it's not directly, he's also responsible for the possible death of Kate Mars, which after he doesn't feel any remorse for and acts almost sarcastic when he says, "I like to be with my family." At last, Nathan accidentally overdosed Rachel. Sure, it's a horrific thing to drug her in the first place, but it was never his plan to kill her. But he screwed up, and Jefferson had to take care of it. Coming back to an earlier point I made, he has never to deal with the consequences. At the end of the game, Nathan can be responsible for up to 3 deaths, and yet, none of them were planned or thought through. So, is he a bad person or just ill and misunderstood? Certainly there's more to it than him just being rebellious, and it probably isn't all his fault too. This does show, however, how much impact parents have on their child, either good or bad, and it's their responsibility to take the best care they can for the children. But just remember, I'm just an amateur. Thanks for watching.
Fuck!